There is good reason this Venezuelan is strolling the streets of Toledo, Spain, instead of Caracas, Venezuela. Misael Lopez is frightened because he says he told the truth about Venezuela, possible terrorists, and corruption that will have him forever looking over his shoulder.
I'm concerned about my safety and my family's safety everywhere I go or where they are.
If what this former official for the Venezuelan government in Iraq says is true, criminals and potential terrorists could be freely moving about the world undetected with authentic Venezuelan passports that were sold at a profit to anyone who was buying. Passports good to enter more than 130 countries without a visa, not including the United States. Lopez was the legal advisor for the Venezuelan embassy in Baghdad, starting in July 2013. A former police officer and an attorney, he provided CNN with documents that he says show an employee at the Venezuelan embassy in Iraq sold passports and visas for a profit. And a CNN investigation found serious irregularities in Venezuelan passports and visas. On his first day in Baghdad, Lopez says Venezuela's ambassador, Jonathan Velasco, entrusted him with a very special envelope.
Full of visas and passport. He told me, get this. This is $1 million US. I thought it was like a joke. No. Then he told me, here, people pay a lot of money to get a visa or a passport to leave this country.
You said you thought it was a joke.
I thought, of course, the first moment, yeah, what's his meaning? But okay, I take it like that. I mean, it was the first day, so.
But about a month later, Lopez learned the ambassador's joke foreshadowed a frightening discovery. Lopez says an Iraqi employee of the embassy, seen here in a video he recorded, told him Venezuela's passports and visas were being sold. She had made thousands of dollars, cash, and Lopez could too.
It's good money. You can make a lot of money with that. They pay us $10,000 US for a visa. And then I got really, really mad, and I told her, how could you think I'm gonna be selling visas or passport?
And who was the person that was supposedly going to get the document?
An Arab guy.
With no connections to Venezuela?
No, no connection at all.
It was only the beginning. Over the next several months, he says he was approached again and again by the same employee, asking him to participate in the scheme. Lopez says she even once offered to sell visas to an entire group of Syrians and give him a cut.
She told me, I have 13 Syrian people wants to pay $10,000 US each for a visa.
That $130,000.
I suspect that might be terrorist. That's why I reject, of course, immediately.
Lopez decided to investigate further. He searched the Iraqi employee's desk and took these pictures of what he found. The embassy's official stamp used to authenticate visas, still wet with ink, along with sheets of paper printed with the Venezuelan government seal. She was an interpreter who wasn't authorized to have any of these items. He eventually fired the employee. Lopez did not have any other documents that would confirm the allegations.
You think that Venezuela is basically offering free travel passes to potential terrorists?
I have found a link to 3 things: laundering money, trafficking drugs, and terrorism.
And it was this document, he says, he found inside the embassy that alarmed him most. It is a list of 21 Arabic names and corresponding Venezuelan passport numbers. Curiously, many of the passport numbers are consecutive. Same with the official government ID numbers, which are like Social Security numbers. A Venezuelan immigration official tells CNN these passports are valid and match the names. We checked with a Venezuelan database and found, for example, Atif has an ID that belongs to Jose. That's the case for 20 of the 21 ID numbers registered to other people with Hispanic names, not the Arabic names listed on the passports.
So these are fake people with real passports?
No, it's not fake people, it's different people.
Lopez says he even found this man who has an Iraqi national ID, but who has a Venezuelan passport that says he was born in Venezuela.
So this guy, it's like he has two mothers and he was born in two places.
Lopez documented everything, including details of the offering of money to issue visas to 13 Syrians, and sent an official report to the Venezuelan ambassador, Jonathan Velasco.
And there's no doubt in your mind that the ambassador knew this was happening.
How could he, being there for so long, couldn't notice that?
And you presented that information to him, and he did nothing.
Sometimes he used to say, Caracas do not need to know anything about that.
Lopez says the ambassador threatened his job, so he took his allegations all the way to Delcy Rodriguez, the foreign minister of Venezuela, reporting his suspicion of the fraudulent issuing of visas, birth certificates, and Venezuelan documents. He says he heard nothing. Finally, frustrated and fearing the implications, Lopez contacted the FBI at the U.S. Embassy in Madrid. A law enforcement source tells CNN an FBI official did meet with Lopez at this restaurant across the street from the embassy and sent his information to Washington. The FBI told us it could not discuss anything about what happened next. By the end of 2015, Lopez was removed from his position by the Venezuelan government. For months, we repeatedly tried to get comments from the Venezuelan government.
Entonces, por aquí no hay acceso.
In Caracas, the government threatened CNN and Español's crew with expulsion for just asking about the passport and visa allegations. At a press event, Foreign Minister Rodriguez ignored our question.
Señora Canciller, solo una pregunta.
Months later, during the UN General Assembly in New York, Rodriguez ignored us again.
Canciller.
Until finally we tracked down the foreign minister on the sidewalk outside the UN.
Canciller, ¿qué dice de las alegaciones de que se venden pasaportes venezolanos en la embajada de Bagdad? ¿Qué nos puede decir sobre eso?
Cuidado.
¿Qué nos puede decir sobre eso, Canciller? ¿Tiene conocimiento usted como ministra de Relaciones Exteriores?
Te vas a pegar.
Te vas a pegar.
¿Qué nos puede decir
Te
sobre
vas a
eso,
pegar
Canciller?
por estar siguiéndole las mentiras a una persona que no sabe ni lo que está diciendo.
¿Dice que eso es mentira?
Totalmente.
Canciller, ¿qué nos puede decir sobre eso?
As she walked into the UN, Rodriguez refused to answer any more questions.
Is there anything you'd like to say?
And Ambassador Velasco, in an email to CNN, wrote that he has nothing to hide or fear, and the embassy don't never and ever sell Venezuelan nationalities. As for the former employee in Iraq, who Lopez says was selling the passports, she did not respond to our calls or emails. Misael Lopez says he knows what he saw. He has lost his job and even his country. He's under official police investigation for revealing confidential matters or secrets. But he says he could not stay silent.
You cannot be cop and a thief at the same time. I decide to be a cop and do the right thing.
Drew Griffin joins us now. That's the fastest walking Venezuelan official I've ever seen. Do we know if the Venezuelan government actually investigated the claims, or did any checks to see if their own documents were being sold?
Anderson, surprisingly, the only investigation we're aware of is the one that now targets the whistleblower, in this case, Misael Lopez. He brought his detailed charges first to the ambassador, then to Delcy Rodriguez, the foreign minister you saw running along the sidewalk there. Lopez told us they both ignored his investigative work that he compiled on duty, and instead they turned their attention to him.
I mean, the implication is that terrorists could be, the worst case scenarios, terrorists could be buying these passports, traveling to a lot of countries legally and undetected by the no-fly list or terror watch screenings, not the United States, but into the European Union. Yes.
Correct. As we pointed out, the U.S. requires an additional step, a visa for anyone with a Venezuelan passport. But this is a global security problem, Anderson. And the problem of passport control when you're dealing with questionable countries like Venezuela is real. There are experts who claim terror networks are involved. It has become a concern, especially, as you said, in Europe for those security officials, because this Venezuelan passport gets you in those countries.
And from my understanding, it's not just this former Venezuelan embassy official linking this alleged passport fraud to possible terrorists. I mean, the U.S. government has been discussing it for years.
The United States government has known about this problem, not only for years, but there's even a congressional report showing concern that Venezuela is providing identity documents that could be useful to radical Islamic groups. And Anderson, as we're going to be reporting in part 2 later this week, the people that are supposedly involved in this in Venezuela reach the very highest levels of that country's government.
Wow. I look forward to that report, Drew. Thanks so much. Great job.